I'm not a damsel in distress, but it's good to have technical people in the room who know how to resolve stuff.
Yeah, we just like we're fixing it on the fly, man.
Yeah,
Fixing it on the fly. But it's one of the cool things. It's a new space.
Yeah.
We get to see the new configurations.
Yeah.
And we take notes, and we're like, okay,
how do we fix this?
Yeah.
So we get the kinks out.
So Sukman, expect an email tomorrow.
Well, it's funny. For those who missed us, welcome back. We've been off air, as in visual, for our Facebook team, and so we're happy to be back. We're happy to be in the house. I know that Big G over here is being talkative. We welcome his role this morning in helping us to figure out the technical quirks, but that's not why he's here this morning. So today we're getting serious. I don't know how many people have seen Big G being serious in the hot seat.
Very few.
So I was able to wrangle his arm, literally or not literally. I saw him. I'm gonna move away from wrangling arms. He was coming in this morning and he had a grimace of pain on his face, and he associated it with an arm injury. So I'm gonna take it easy on him today.
Yes,
Too much fire.
Yes.
But welcome, folks who are in Radio Land and also the folks who are on Facebook Live. This morning, we are talking about dementia and Alzheimer's. Can you imagine? It is something, if I didn't spill my coffee on myself, it is something that affects the community more often than we think about. For us here in Canada, over 600,000 folks live with Alzheimer's, dementia. And as you know, our beloved Robert Munch, who writes a lot of our children's stories, recently was diagnosed with dementia, and he has opted for medical assistance in dying. And lots of people are just quite heartbroken about how this disease takes away the people that we love. Bruce Willis has been battling this, and his family has been quite public with it. And so, when I thought about how do we navigate this, because I also worked in community where I supported families with dementia, Alzheimer's, it's a kind of illness that robs us and make us grieve our families before they are not physically
they transition,
with us, right? And so this morning we have Big G.
But in the house.
He may be wearing his glasses, but he's not Big G today, Greg. So we're gonna get him to introduce himself, because what you folks probably wouldn't know about Greg is that his father was touched by the dreaded disease, dementia. And for those who don't understand or do not know, you hear the word dementia thrown out there, you hear the word Alzheimer's thrown out there. But dementia is kind of like the umbrella term for individuals who have a cognitive decline. And when we say cognitive decline, we're talking about, your memory, your functionality, your language skills, all decline. And it can be a decline for many reasons. Somebody had a stroke, degenerative illness that affects your brain functioning, and it can also affect your reasoning ability. It affects your ability to function in daily life, to carry out what we call the activities of daily living, whether it's taking care of your home, paying your bills. And so this is an illness for sure that requires caregiver support. Lots of family support. And people always ask, what is Alzheimer's? Why are people getting Alzheimer's mixed up with dementia? So just so you know, the Alzheimer's is an arm of dementia. It's a form of dementia. And there are many, many forms of dementia that pops up, and it can happen as early as in your 40s and as late life as you want it to be. So when we talk about Alzheimer's, we're talking about gradual memory loss that occurs, confusion, language problems, personality changes, and that's a big one. Lots of people don't realize.
They don't realize it's just, you're dealing with different people.
Exactly.
Times,
And so, vascular dementia is another one that occurs. There is also, and this one is related to stroke, and I know that Alric, your grandmother, when I met you, your grandmother had also vascular dementia.
Yeah,
so you'll get to be able to kind of do a little support group here with Big G.
Full group.
So then we have the Lewy body dementia, which is associated with hallucinations, visual hallucinations, movements. This one is almost like Parkinson's disease. So and it's important for people to recognize that.
Yeah.
But I'm here. That's my overview. I don't have a direct lived experience with any family member who has had dementia, although I've supported clients who've been caregivers or they themselves have dementia where I've had to advocate for them. This is not my area of expertise. I only have the clinical knowledge. But today we bring folks in. Thank you, Greg, for volunteering to be here.
It's all good.
To share your story and to be vulnerable with us. So as we enter into the weeds with you, tell me a little bit more about why you volunteered today to talk about something that is so personal, one, and, why is it so important to address this topic?
Well, I think this whole topic for today came up a couple weeks ago because we were watching a clip with Michael Irvin on Club Shay Shay. And for those of you that don't know who Michael Irvin is, Hall of Fame wide receiver, nicknamed the Playmaker. Dallas Cowboys, when the Cowboys were a good team. How about them Cowboys?
Some shade.
How about them Dallas Cowboys? Right. But Michael Irvin, he's been with his wife now, I think, since they were in college.
Yeah.
And he disclosed in the interview that his wife developed
early onset
Alzheimer's in her 50s.
Yeah.
Early 50s. And, he was talking about just the changes that going through that with someone pretty much so young.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where this whole topic kind of came about from. And, I kind of said, a lot of people, we hear about other people with family members, especially within our Black community, that have this issue. A lot of families deal with it. But unless you've actually
experienced
it and been that family member dealing with the other family member, you don't really know, right? You can have sympathy, you can have apathy, but you don't really know the challenge that goes on. And it's different for every family member as well. And that's, something that we'll probably, get into at some point. But I thought it's really important for our community to talk about these things. Because, we pretend like, it's a hush-hush thing. And we try to be like, well, let's keep everything super private and not share what we're going through sometimes. But it's rough on a lot of people.
Oh yeah. It's something that affects more families than we know, right? And people are going through these things in silence. They're not tapping into support systems.
Yep.
They're not tapping into the wealth of knowledge of clinicians, for example, that can help them through. And it's just something that it's one thing to be going through it in terms of supporting a family member. It's another thing where you feel helpless.
Yeah.
Where you can't really fully support them to live a quality of life that you deem that they should be living. And that's why I think it's important for us to be able to unpack stuff like this.
Yeah, and there are different stages of going through it. For me, because I haven't lived at home since I was 17.
You're an independent guy.
Yeah. I've been trekking the globe since 17. Right? But one of the things that, I had to deal with was the initial denial on my side of things.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, I go home, like, that's fine. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with Daddy. Daddy's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
this is daddy. Like,
right. He's still, yeah.
You know?
And isn't that what makes this kind of illness so complicated? In that, yes, most people who battle any form of illness, we respect the privacy and confidentiality, and we also respect people's people's right of saying, I want to do this on my own. I want to do this in privacy. But because of the cognitive decline piece, it makes it a little bit more complex and a lot more interesting. Because I was watching the news last week, and former Prime Minister of Jamaica, Portia Simpson Miller,
oh God,
she was diagnosed with dementia.
Oh really? Oh,
so she has dementia.
That's too bad.
And they interviewed her husband, who is her main caregiver, and the husband was speaking about the need for privacy and that there is nothing that he would do differently as it relates to being able to support his wife. And then it speaks to the question, even when I watched people's reactions to Robert Munch's decision for medical assistance in dying while he's cognitively with it, right? And we look at what is happening with Bruce and other people who are in the public eye. I think because, and you spoke about your father being somebody who was very community oriented, so people knew him and people knew the difference in how he would present. And so I feel like lots of times when you have public figures, people feel entitled to have access.
They do, but then there's also that, depending on your level of, public exposure, there's that aura that you've had all these years.
Yes, that you don't want to lose.
Yeah, the people around you don't want you to lose that that aura.
Yeah.
So I could see, Miss Portia being a former prime minister. Portia Simpson is known for being very
fiery, right? Very fiery.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I could understand her husband being like, well, I don't want people to
see her like this.
Exactly.
Yeah, in this state. Because it goes back to the piece of how people remember you, right? And if you're in a state of decline where that's how people are going to remember you the last time they saw you, it's kind of like a protection, as you said, of that integrity piece, right? Which is very important. I remember with my grandma, right, when she was going through her stages of dementia. And in Jamaica, we have this statement, right? Once you start having cognitive decline, they say, your head a got water. You understand? And so I remember when she started having these symptoms that we could see, and it was as if we were trying to protect her from others not seeing that, right? Because she was the one that was pretty caring in the family. She would in the community, she was well known. She was quiet, but she was more of a community person. Very kind. She would help anyone that wants. Our home was known as the home that anyone could actually just come to, right? If they were in danger, they would come. If they wanted food, they would come. If they wanted to play games, they would come. If they wanted to watch the movies, they would come.
Every district have that,
right? So that it was the home, and everyone knew Miss Mary, right? And so when she started to have that cognitive decline, we wanted to save her from the public's view, right? The reputational protection, and so we kind of protected her. And people would say, "Where's she?" Right? But she was always there. It's just that we didn't want others to see that.
Yeah. So I guess the question that needs to be asked is, what are the signs that people should look for? Because you, Greg, you said you haven't been home since 17. You
haven't been living
at home. And you went back, and probably those who were living at home could have had an inkling of things going wrong or being awry.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't see that, possibly. But what did you see, or what did you hear?
So, like, I saw and experienced enough to be super sensitive to when folks are going through these things. Like, I can Like I distinctly remember a number of years ago going back to Toronto, and I hadn't seen my Uncle Terrence in years. And within 5 minutes, I looked at my auntie and I'm like,
something's wrong.
This
is not him.
Yeah, I was like, this is. I looked at my cousins, his son and daughter. I'm like, have you, started working on some stuff for Uncle Terrence?
Yeah.
Right? Because it didn't take long.
Yeah.
What did that look like, though? What were you seeing?
It's the conversation, the style of conversation. Like there's a certain repetitiveness to the conversation. Because like with Alzheimer's, what it impacts mostly is your short-term memory. Your long-term memory is intact.
It's there, yeah.
Like you'll remember stuff from 20, 30 years ago, but you can't remember 5 minutes ago.
Yeah,
and that's the thing,
yes.
Right? That's what that really sets everything off.
Yeah.
So but it taught me like dealing with my dad, like how to handle those situations and how to deal with when I come across people in those situations. Funny side story, a couple of years ago for Carrie West, we had a pop-up parade. This was during COVID. And we had a pop-up parade in Windermere, in that area. And so I said, I'm going to drive my vehicle at the head of the parade as a pace car. So Brian Aline, rest his soul, passed away earlier this year. Longtime volunteer for Carrie West, former president. And, he always is in the road march. Always.
Yeah.
But no one really knew that I knew who Mr. Aline was. I just hadn't really interacted with him.
Okay.
So Miss Coombs and his wife comes running up to me like, hey, we have a senior citizen here that's walking. Can he ride with you in the vehicle? I said, yeah, who's it? Sure. Oh, it's Mr. Aline. Of course, Mr. Aline can come. So, he came, he sat in the shotgun, and we're, driving within literally as soon as the door closed. And we started talking. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I see
what's up here. Yeah.
The beautiful thing about it, though, the whole time he kept calling me George. Now, for those of you that most of you don't know, my dad's name is George.
Okay.
So he knew your dad?
No.
Why did he call you George?
I don't know.
That's
a coincidence.
I don't know, but he kept calling the whole time.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, the parade is over. He goes back to his wife and is like, I had a really good time at the parade. That George Davis fellow is an awesome guy. And so now his wife is going around trying to find George Davis.
Who's George Davis?
Oh, you know what? It could be that Greg isn't like a new age name, so he replaced it with a George. Like he's not like an older version name, so he replaced it with a George. Because the thing is, you connect. You have those neural pathways that is being you're trying to connect in your mind when that decline happens.
Yeah.
I want us to stay on what we see as the symptoms because it's interesting that you spoke about, the forgetfulness, the repetition, the confusion is another one.
Yeah.
And forgetting basic
stuff.
things that you know that this person has always been capable of doing.
So for the folks out there, if you find that your parents or somebody who is older or who is having memory deficits are putting stuff in the fridge or the microwave, or you're finding things where they're not supposed to be.
We're back.
Yes, we're in the hot seat, and
that's right, we are.
Or I'm not.
Well,
I'm not. I'm putting you guys in the hot seat. It was very fun in the break, and we had, this is a very touchy topic. We're going back to visit sentimental memories with people who were here with us and are no longer here, and you have to contend with a persona that they were before versus the persona that they were towards the end of their lives. And I cannot imagine how difficult that was for both of you to navigate with your grandparents.
My grandparent.
Oh, your grandparents and his dad. I'm so sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just wanted to just zone in for our listeners to understand, because the whole point of doing these segments is to educate folks so that you don't have to struggle alone. Confusion, forgetfulness, all of those pieces, there are supports for you out there. There are, if you're living in anywhere in Canada, because when I worked in Saskatchewan, I was a community assessor coordinator, and that was my role. I went out, I did assessment with folks to see about cognitive decline. So one of two terms that I want you to remember, there's one called a mini mental test. You can even do that with your own folks. It's available online. You do a mini mental test with them and you start to see, okay, something is happening. And then you can take them to the family doctor. The doctor administers something a little bit more technical called the MOCA. And the MOCA is what is used to test to see if there's decline. And then the doctor can use that now to administer more assessments. And for those who don't have wills out there, start talking about that conversation, especially while anybody who has dementia.
But you have to be also careful with that particular conversation too. Like I remember being home once, and we were actually having that conversation with my dad, me and my mom, and this goes back to the what we said earlier, that sometimes you're dealing with Jekyll and Hyde, two different people.
Yeah.
And so then in the night we had the conversation, and Daddy was calm, and he's like, yeah. I think in the morning when we woke up, he was so mad and angry about that whole and it was a completely different thing, you know. And he was just ripping into me and my mom the whole time, and me and my mom are like, ooh, we just had this, you know, okay, Daddy, it's okay.
So that alone tells you he doesn't have the cognitive capacity to make any informed decision, right?
You know, so because like, you know, today you within literally he slept on it the whole night.
Or he probably didn't.
Or
he probably didn't.
Yeah, he probably didn't.
Yeah, and many of us are resistant to dying, resistant to not having the power or agency to make our own decisions.
Yeah.
So when that comes back to him, that's going to cause some agitation right there.
Yeah. But it was a completely, you know, that personality switch. It just right now you're calm, tomorrow like within 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a totally different person.
You know, different emotion, different level of anger and upset. And but that's one of the challenges that you have to navigate. You know, like, you know, if we talk to my mom, and you know, her level of stress and what she had to deal with was different from everybody else, because not just seeing, you know, these mood switches and the loss in ability and all that, but also the emotional toll of this is someone that you love, this is someone that you've been with since you were, you know, 20 or something, 20 years old, and to see them slowly slipping down the hill. That's a different emotional stress.
Of course.
That I
cannot relate to, right? Yeah, it's different for each person, especially dependent, as you said, on the relationship that you shared with the person who's now going through their own cognitive decline. Right? I remember when my grandma was going through her period. And so she had suffered 2 strokes, right? The first one she recovered from. The second one, she had some difficulty following that with speech and so on, right? And so for a long time, she was almost nonverbal, right? Because her speech had gone. But she was still sharp, right? She would know who was coming, who was going. She would be able to direct stuff around the home. But then after a while, she started forgetting stuff, simple stuff. Like if you spoke with her 2 minutes ago and she said something, and then you'd come back and think, okay, we're continuing the conversation. She'd be like, huh?
Yeah.
What are you talking about, right?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
And so that's kind of difficult, because you can't even link things that, you know, you would have normally linked to say, okay, this is a conversation that we can carry.
Yeah.
So it's in bits and pieces, and that was difficult.
Yeah, I remember when I met you, Alric, your grandmother had just had her stroke. I think I met her like a week or few weeks before I was able to introduce myself. She knew my name, she could recognize me, and then a few weeks after coming back to visit, your grandmother was like bedridden, nonverbal. And what a lot of folks don't recognize is how much self-blame comes with seeing a family member decline. Because I remember for you, Alric, you thought you were responsible for her not being able to speak. And,
it was tough.
You know, you wanted to figure it out. It was very heartbreaking to watch how you thought you shared responsibility in her not speaking. There was probably something more you could have done. And I also watched like your entire family. You have a family who rallied support around her, and how helpless you all felt in, you know, watching her decline and not being able to do anything about it. And so, you know, as Greg spoke about his mom and her caregiver role, but I also saw you from that lens of how your family wanted to do more. And so, as you both reflect on that experience, what are things that you think you could have changed in that moment? What are some, you know, if you had to do anything over again, what would that look like?
I mean, for me, it would have probably been maybe moving back home would be what I'd do different. But at the same time, you know, this leads to one of the other things within the Black community that we often don't want to address is the idea of living caregivers or
Thank you very much.
This leads into that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, for example, I was at Miss Pearl's from Cameron Woods Network. Her birthday party was yesterday. And me and Samantha, we were there hanging out. We were by far the two youngest people in the room. So me and Sam were hanging out. And so, you know, shout out to Sam as well.
Yeah, I was going to say shout out to Sam for still supporting.
Samantha, you know, it's been almost a year since her dad died.
Oh, I'm sorry for your loss, Sam.
And he was also going through a cognitive decline disorder. And so I told her about the show today. I'm going to be on the show and stuff. And, you know, one of the things, you know, she mentioned was, you know, when they moved her dad into a care center, what it did for her mom's mental health.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because she was the primary caregiver.
Yeah.
And the relief and the break it gave her.
Wow.
And the ability to actually be there for him in a different capacity.
Yeah.
A better capacity.
Yeah.
But within our community, if you talk about, oh, you know, we should put, you know, so-and-so in a home, you have other family members will start literally cuss you out about why you're going to put someone in a home and you have but because they don't understand.
And because they're not providing the care.
Yeah.
Right? So they don't understand the pressure that comes with that.
So can we be big and bold and boasty today to say, especially to Black and Jamaican and Caribbean families, African families, who guilt our children to keep them at home. So you tell your kids, make me a promise today that you will never put me in a personal care home or a long-term care facility, not knowing what the future is. So you have these poor children making promises to you, are burnt out, are struggling with their own children, their own responsibilities, and feel so inclined and attached and codependent to us that they don't want to make decisions that are going to feel like they don't care about their parents.
Yeah.
There are other ways in which we can show that we care.
Yeah.
And we have to get to that point where we change the culture of recognizing that our children need to ask for help. This is heavy.
Yeah.
It is.
Because I used to, when I worked with, I used to do applications for long-term care support and for personal care homes, right?
Yeah.
And I would go into these homes and I would see these wives or husbands with their partners in the homes. And they can't, if we ask them to demonstrate, how do you give your partner a bath or whatever the case is, they will.
Yeah.
But then you go inside and these partners have bruises all over their bodies.
Yeah.
There's decline in the caregiver. There is neglect that is happening, not because it's intentional, but because one caregiver is so labored.
Yeah.
They don't want to ask
They're
their
burnt out.
grown children for support
Yeah.
because they believe that this is my responsibility. I don't want to burden anybody with it. But what you find is you have to, I used to go in, I used to support this wife when I worked in Saskatoon. Wonderful apartment. She put everything in place for her husband, and she said, I promised him I would never send him to a care home. But guess what? Many people don't realize that people with cognitive decline, they start wondering.
There comes a point.
Oh my gosh, they start wondering.
Yeah,
They
and-
start becoming abusive. Their personalities
Change,
change.
yeah.
Different person.
And
Yep.
so these poor folks, they don't want respite coming in to support them. They don't want anything. And so you go in after a month and you wonder, who is this person that I'd seen? So you have to now support this, educate
Yeah.
the caregiver in recognizing that there is quality of life that this
Yes.
person needs.
Yeah.
So there are care home supports, personal care homes. And as you said, Greg, it really does improve the quality
Yeah.
of and sanctity of the marriage.
Yeah. Yeah. And the person that's giving you
Yeah.
that primary care, like they need that.
Yeah.
They
There's
need a break.
there's a lot of
Yeah.
relief, mental
that.
relief that
Yeah.
comes from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, and the whole idea of the wondering aspect. I mean, you don't know until you're in that spot the stress
Yes.
that and the different things you have to unwonder proof your house.
Yes, yes.
You know,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
different-
bells and whistles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
all
my
these, all these
Lord.
different things you have to do. You know, thankfully my dad was not prone to wonder.
Yeah.
He was more of a driver.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we engineered with, shout out to Donnie from Procar
Yeah.
to get him off the road from driving.
Okay.
Oh my Lord.
Right, that was engineered.
No wonder he's unhappy.
Yeah,
And we're
Okay,
gonna come
we're
back
going
to
to
that.
a break.
yeah, we're back.
This is too good. We should have had you twice. We've had a radio already. Like,
Cutting into Greg
Yeah.
Sunday mornings.
folks out there, and you know, this segment is dedicated to the caregivers. And we're gonna pull in a little bit about those who are probably experiencing cognitive decline, but they're alone.
Yeah.
And it's disguised as social anxiety that they don't want to go out and
Outside.
engage with anybody.
Yeah.
And then you go to their homes and you see, oh my God, what kind of hoarding is happening. And don't forget medication management.
Yeah, missing meds.
Missing medication. And you know what? The pharmacies are so amazing that they can bubble pack the
Yes,
medication.
they're both packing
That's
them.
And they can have it delivered. There are all kinds of systems available now, especially here in Canada, to make the
Medication
support
management,
for our
yeah.
senior folks so much better. And so for those who are probably recent immigrants and you have your aged folks here with you and you don't know the supports that are there, ask questions,
Yeah.
you know, reach out, connect with resources. The internet is so amazing, and everybody is becoming friends now with ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT;
Yeah.
they'll tell you for sure
Where to go.
where
Yeah.
to go. And so, you know, we really wanna not neglect the folks who are living alone. I had a military member the other day that we had grown and gotten such a good relationship. He was living at home alone, and he was referred to me. This was an aged person, and you can know that there are cognitive declines. I sent him to be assessed, but there was hoarding. There were hallucinations and delusions about what he thought was happening.
Yeah.
And this was something that, I had to get some extra support for him, because on the clinical side, somebody who is going through dementia, it is hard to give them that support that they need, because there's no cognitive processing that's going to happen. But they're so isolated that they need a friend. And so our therapy sessions became, so talk to, and and he gave that positive feedback to say, Latoya, you're so amazing, and whatever the case is. But me being amazing was not enough for him. And, if we are egotistical in thinking, oh my gosh, we just want somebody to tell us how amazing we are, we're going to miss the mark in that wraparound support that folks who are going through issues
really
need. And so I want to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
But Greg, Alric, your mother was up and about and about everything in being a caregiver. And Greg, we know how hyper independent your mother is.
Shout out to Mrs. Davis.
Shout out to Miss Davis over here. Who, you spoke about her knowing her partner in one way.
Yeah.
Since they've been in their 20s at least.
Well, she was in her 20s.
She was in her 20s.
Yeah, my dad is 20 years older than my mom.
Okay. So that brings context.
Yeah.
But regardless, your mom would have known your dad as the provider in many ways, known a different kind of personality. So what are some of from your perspective, what do you see were some of the most difficult parts of your mom being a caregiver? What did it do for her? And,
Well, one of the things was, not knowing who you're dealing with at any given point in time.
Yeah.
Like there was this one episode that happened at home where, we had to call the police. And the police came and, everything was kind of calmed and chilled and settled down. No one was hurt or anything like that. But, we had to get the police involved to kind of mitigate the situation, right? And my dad was there, and so we took him to Dr. Martin, and Dr. Martin is our family doctor.
Okay.
We've been going to Dr. Martin. We've been going to her when her dad ran the practice, and now she runs it. But she's also a therapist.
Okay.
Family doctor, and my dad had no recollection of that situation, and he sat in the doctor's office crying, saying, "How can you say this? That I had this reaction to my wife. I would never have,
Yeah.
And so dealing with like those different personalities is hard. Dealing with the fact that I remember being home and he and I were going out, and something super simple that you might think is benign almost, but he asked me to tie his shoelaces for him.
Yeah.
I tied his shoelace for him. But it was like, this is a character that's large. If you think I'm larger than life, George Davis was larger itself, right?
Yeah.
So seeing those things, right?
Yeah.
Like he is known for driving.
Yeah.
Like, he's a road warrior.
Yeah.
And seeing he can't do that one thing that he loves doing. And then having to change different things in the house. Like my mom's an avid gardener.
Yeah.
But we
lovely garden too.
Amazing.
Wow. Really great garden.
And mangoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for his own safety, you had to like stow away,
put away the tools, all of those,
and all these different things, right?
Yeah.
And so that impacts how you approach,
her
own personal joy.
Yeah, everything had to be changed, right?
Yeah.
So she had to sacrifice the things that ground her, the things that
help her
filled
to
up
cope.
her identity.
Yeah.
Now she had to forsake that
or adjust
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so of course you also had to forego a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one of the struggles that on the spousal level that I see.
Yeah.
So can we address the fact that lots of times what happens is you're providing a caregiver role and you become so consumed in that role that you forget what you need as an individual to be functional.
Yeah, and that happens a lot.
Yeah.
That happens a lot because you're dealing with someone that you love.
Yes.
And
and you're just giving up yourself. You're giving up yourself because you want to help.
Yeah.
Right? And you sacrifice yourself in order to do that, right? Which is important. Now, I wanted to touch on one thing though, because a lot of people may not know also that symptoms of dementia can be caused by untreated urinary tract infections.
Yes.
I've heard that.
Or the symptoms are more intense with a urinary tract infection, right? And so,
I've heard that. Yeah. And also related to your type of job that you were doing too. So like our family, we are we're iron workers.
Yeah.
We work primarily with the bauxite plants.
Yes.
And so that is an environment that is
very toxic.
Incredibly.
Yeah.
You're exposed to a
lot of chemicals. Yeah.
Chemicals and particles and.
Should we start a lawsuit or something?
Oh no.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where your overall lifestyle also can.
Yes.
Take a hit.
It's a risk factor.
It is a risk factor.
It is a risk factor. So I'm glad you spoke about that piece because that is why it's important for us to detox the body. We always talk about wash out and all kinds of stuff. And people think, there we go, all white fables and all kinds of stuff. But our parents did that to us when we were younger. They did that, suracity, all kinds of stuff. And you're finding now that there are naturopathic, integrative health professionals who are now coming back to the things that our grandmothers, our mothers did with us to really cleanse the body. Everybody's now talking about detoxing and everybody's talking about gut health. And we knew about gut health and pH balance way back when. But we come to countries like these and we don't drink the ginger turmeric tea and the search me heart and the verbine and the moringa and the soursop tea for 6 days. And we don't drink all of that.
Even the ganja tea.
And
right? Yes.
Somebody used to soak that with something and give us. So we are, I think what has happened, just from a decolonial lens, a lot of our practices were so pathologized for so long that we thought, drinking coffee is the viable replacement rather than recognizing that there is value in what our ancestors have given to us as medicine, and we keep forsaking that. But
you can't hit the Blue Mountain coffee doing.
I'm not going to hit it. Okay, big up to Tim. Paid advertisement, Tim, is you need to start sponsoring our segment because I bring in my Timmys so often. But thank you, folks, so much for just being vulnerable with us. And big up to Mrs. Davis down there who her garden is flourishing. And big up to, your mom, Alric, and all your
Miss Eva,
folks.
Auntie Sean.
Yes. I know your grandfather is still alive and he is cognitively with it.
He's very sharp.
But here you are, your parent, your mom and your aunt are back in a caregiver role for your grandfather. Big up Shawty, took care of my children and brought all the medicine to us. But thank you so much, folks. We are at the end of our segment. And this conversation is not an exhaustive conversation
not
where
at all.
We can explore all of it, but I hope that just being able to bring light to this conversation we are able to get folks to ask questions, to don't be afraid to email us, to call in, to send us a text message. if this connected with you. And if there are other topics that you think we should be discussing,
Let us know.
Let us know.
We are willing to explore that. So we're going to be out of here, but next week, Special K and Big G are going to be in the hot seat on Friday evening.
Yep.
And then Danny and Big G again are going to be back on Saturday morning.
Morning show.
For the weekend morning show. And then I, myself, and Alric will be back, and we'll be talking to a fellow therapist, Sharani, and she is Sri Lankan descent and Canadian as well.
Okay.
And
She'll be in the house live?
She is going to be here live as we explore grief, identity, and many things. So tune in next week, and we will be out. Enjoy your weekend, folks.
Mañana.
Hasta mañana.